What's going on, fam? Welcome to Skill Tree, where we learn how to do just about everything from the internet. So I'm going to be trying to follow this video from Alex Faction. Look at that. That looks awesome. I'm going to put his channel in the description. I fell down a YouTube rabbit hole just watching him do his thing because he's an artist. Really, really good at what he does. So highly recommend you checking that out. Anyways, doing this does come with a bit of a problem. I have a beard. I'm going to have to shave this off. Luckily, I've come up with a method to make this both quick and painless for you and me. Here we go. Oh man, my face is so cold. I did keep a little stubble, but Alex did in the video as well, so I think it's gonna be okay. All right, with the hard part done, I guess there's nothing left to do but paint my face.
So as per Alex's direction, I'm starting off with a white eyeliner pencil and just start blocking in all of the bones and all the places that are going to be white. This doesn't have to be perfect. I messed up on it a few times, but if you do find yourself messing up, this stuff just wipes away really easily. Once you've got one side done, copy it onto the other side so you're pretty symmetrical, like this. Once you're happy with your face bones, we're going to start moving on to making the teeth. Remember that teeth actually extend past what you can see in your mouth, so try to make them look like little pieces of candy corn, kind of sharp at the top and then wider down when you get to the bottom. Try to make sure you get an even number of teeth distributed evenly across your face. Now I'm going back in with a brush and shading the roots of the teeth. The color I'm using here is charcoal brown from MAC, and what this is going to do is give the illusion that the teeth are actually coming out of the skull and giving them a little bit more dimension. I almost forgot this step, but I have bushy eyebrows, and this Elmer's glue actually does a really good job with helping to put them down and make it so that you can cover them with the paint and make them kind of disappear at least. This next piece is pretty self-explanatory. You're just going back through and filling in all the bone spaces with white paint. I had a little bit of trouble making the paint smooth, but if I went back over it with a big brush, it tended to smooth the whole thing out and make it look pretty uniform. The only part you really have to be careful of is with the teeth. You want to feather that in between the cracks of the teeth to make sure you're not smearing too much of that shading you did. Bam! Starting to look like something, but once we get shading in, it's going to look way better, trust me. This part's also pretty self-explanatory. We're just filling in all of the not white spaces with black. I also took this opportunity to black out my neck to try to add to the whole effect. Alright, this is the fun part and where we get to make the whole piece look way more realistic. So again, we're using that brown charcoal eyeshadow to add depth to the whole piece. In general, everywhere that you want to kind of fade back into the distance is where you want to add that shadow. So if you want something to pop out, like I'm trying to make this eye ridgeline pop out, I'm adding shadow to the side of it, and that makes the whole thing kind of come forward. You see with all of it, like I'm making the teeth here look like they're kind of popping out inside of the skull by just adding that line and adding some shadow to it. I decided to change the eye a little bit as I was looking a little bit too sad skeleton and not scary skeleton enough. But the nice thing about all these paints is you can just paint right over it, so there really is no messing up. Okay, so here I've switched to a carbon black eyeshadow, also from MAC, to try to add more depth. So anywhere that's darker is going to look like it's sunken in even more. Then I go back over it and blend the whole thing down to make it look more like shadow. It's going to be the same pattern. Anywhere you kind of want to fade back and look like it's inset, you're going to go back over either with the brown or with the black if you really need it to be deep, and then come back over it and buff it out to try to make it look a little bit lighter and more shaded. You can see even just a little I add here really brings out the brow bone and makes it look like the brows are kind of sticking out further than they actually are. Every once in a while I had to go back in with my white paint and redo my highlights as they got a little bit muddy while I was trying to blend in all the shadow. Remember, the brighter areas are going to look like they're sticking out further than the shaded areas, so this is going to also help add depth. Here I'm going back in with an eyeliner brush and some black paint just to try to separate those teeth a little bit more and give them a little bit more definition. Then I went over the roots of them again with that brown charcoal brush just to bring back some of that depth that I had earlier. Now using a black eyeliner, I'm redrawing this cheekbone so that it looks like the back teeth here are set further back into the jaw. After shading in the gum line of these back teeth, I'm adding in just a little bit of white highlight to help bring out the ridges of them. Then using a thin liner brush and black paint, I'm making the separation of the brow bones a little bit more severe. Kind of makes it look a little bit more cartoonish, but adds a little bit of interest. I'm now adding shadow back to the area that I changed to give that more depth in the cheekbone and also in the teeth. And here I am again just touching up the highlights. You'll probably have to do this several times. It's easy to kind of muddy up all your highlights. Now using that same black carbon eyeshadow, I'm just touching up my hairline to try to make it disappear a little bit and go away. This wasn't in the original tutorial, but I thought like a chin would help make the whole thing look a little bit more bony. So I'm just adding that light brown and making a little cleft chin. I then undertook the massive task of trying to black out my giant ears to try to make them disappear and stick out a little bit less from the rest of the costume.
And that's it. Face painted. This was way harder than I thought it was going to be. You kind of see people doing the face painting thing. You're like, oh, that doesn't look too bad the way they do it. There's a reason they're professionals, and I am not. That being said, I did most of this with like the makeup you buy in a Halloween store. So the coverage really wasn't the same, and I had to kind of keep going back over certain things that didn't look bright enough. But all in all, not bad. I hope you guys enjoyed this project. If you did, please hit the thumbs up button and let me know. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you know when I release new content. Alright, that's it for me. I am off to devour the souls of the innocent. Until I see you next time, keep leveling up, you.